Exposed. The incredible intern who transformed a mistrial into a $600 million miracle. Alex Carter had always felt like an outsider, a grain of sand in the glimmering sands of Chicago's elite law firms. Standing on the precipice of his dream, he was an intern, barely scraping by, fueled by coffee and ambition. That morning, the weight of the world pressed down on his chest, as he uncovered a document that could alter lives forever, a high-stakes lawsuit against a powerful pharmaceutical company that had been blatantly mishandled. Families devastated by the fallout from this scandal could have been saved if the trial had been conducted with integrity. He needed to act, but his thoughts twisted with dread. What would loyalty to his family cost him? What would it cost to bring those powerful men to justice? He recalled the late-night study sessions, cramming for exams while balancing this demanding internship, each moment drawing him closer to a future he had always dreamed of. Yet now that dream felt tainted by fear. With every click of the mouse on his computer, his heart raced. What if his family disapproved? They relied on him and had sacrificed so much for him to reach this point. Betraying them felt like a betrayal of all he had ever known. Yet something deep within him screamed to rise, to fight, to reveal the truth. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the pressure mounted, the echoes of Rachel's voice reverberated in his mind, urging him to take action. You have a chance to make a difference, Alex. Don't be afraid to step into the limelight. Her confidence was the flame illuminating his murky dilemma. But with clarity came anxiety. Could he really stand against the tide? His colleagues, smug with privilege, would surely come down on him with lawsuits and threats. The fear of failure felt sharper than the pain of conscience. What if exposing the truth led only to economic ruin? What if his career spiraled into oblivion? He felt paralyzed, neck deep in an ocean of uncertainty. His fingers trembled over the keyboard, preparing the evidence, but a wave of nausea rolled through him at the thought of jeopardizing everything he had sacrificed for. He recalled the joy on his mother's face when she received his acceptance letter from law school, the pride in his father's eyes. Could he face them if he chose this path? And yet, he thought of those families, what they endured while he sat in a plush office, the grind of the city merely the backdrop to his ambition. The raw injustice clawed at him. They were waiting for a beacon of hope, and each moment spent in silence trapped him in a moral noose. As he hovered over the send button, he was gripped by an existential strain. It was now or never. Was this step toward truth worth risking everything he had built? His heart thundered and his breathing grew irregular. His dreams felt within reach yet heartbreakingly elusive. A defining moment loomed. This decision could tear apart his reality, or cast him as an unexpected titan. But how could he trust that stepping into the light would lead to healing for those families? The internal battle raged, intertwining desperation and determination, leaving him at the edge of a daunting choice, caught between the vow of loyalty and the call of justice. The clock on his desk ticked relentlessly, each second an accusation, each breath a challenge. Alex's gaze remained fixated on the screen, his mind a whirlpool of conflicting thoughts. Taking a deep breath, he realized the choice before him was no longer just about the document, it was about his very identity. Would he allow fear to define him, or would he seize this moment to become the person he always wanted to be? Rachel's encouragement flickered in his memory like a beacon. He envisioned the families, individuals bound together by grief and devastation, their eyes searching for justice, for truth. In that moment, clarity surged through him. It wasn't merely a matter of loyalty. It was a question of integrity. He had worked tirelessly, endured sleepless nights, and fought protests from self-doubt. He would not shrink back now. With newfound resolve, Alex shifted uncomfortably in his chair, the stakes more significant than he had ever anticipated. He pressed the send button with a calculated ferocity, the mouse click echoing like a gunshot in the quiet office. The document, laden with evidence and injustice, soared into the ether, a silent cry for those who had been silenced. A rush of adrenaline coursed through him as the reality of his act settled in. The walls felt like they were closing in, as if the firm had sensed his betrayal and was now monitoring his every move. With every passing minute, he anticipated repercussions. Would his colleagues question his motives? Would they seek to undermine him? Alex stood up abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. He needed to distract himself from the gnawing anxiety. The library down the hall offered a sanctuary of knowledge, a refuge where he could rebuild his confidence and formulate a precise plan for the storm that was likely to follow. He needed to scour the law books for precedents, for strategies that would fortify his decisions. As he passed the boardroom, the voices of his superiors echoed within, engaging in seemingly benign chatter that now struck him as hollow. Their laughter was grating against his heightened sense of moral purpose. He imagined walking in and laying bare the truth, but the thrill of that fantasy evaporated as quickly as it arose. They would likely mock him. They operated on privilege and power, while he was carved from ambition and fervor. He entered the library and grabbed a book on corporate law. As he read, the words swam before his eyes, but he willed himself to concentrate. Each line absorbed felt like an armor piece he was equipping himself with. He needed knowledge to defend his actions, to confront whatever consequences lay ahead. Hours passed, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, exhaustion settled in, but also a sense of determination. He knew he couldn't return to complacency. The quest was bigger than himself, bigger than any fear his conscience shouldered. Ideas took flight in his mind. What if he could gather more evidence? What if he could connect with journalists who would amplify his findings? Among the pages he turned, a piece of paper slipped from a binding. It was a clipping from a local newspaper about a whistleblower who had turned the tide in a major case, earning both accolades and animosity. The article sparked curiosity and perhaps a dangerous hope maybe he could be that person. Yet, as he delved deeper into this new ambition, he found himself questioning the potential fallout. What allies could he recruit? Who would back him and who would curse his name? The reality settled. The time had come to face the very forces he feared. With a new plan forming in his mind, Alex stepped out of the library and into the bustling city night, a new fire igniting within him. There were more decisions to be made, more battles to face, and now, knowing there was no turning back, he entered the fray, ready to confront the unexpected consequences of his bravery. But as the crowd swirled around him, Alex felt a shiver of doubt creeping in as he considered the consequences. Would anyone believe him? Would he truly have the strength to face those in power? With a quickened pace, Alex navigated the labyrinthine streets of the city, acutely aware of the weight of his decision pressing heavily against his chest. Each block felt like it was bringing him closer to a precipice from which there was no retreat. His mind churned with possibilities and the consequences that could ripple out from his actions. A momentary misstep might lead to others' lives hanging in the balance. Had he truly considered what exposing the firm's misdeeds would entail? The shadows of betrayal loomed large, and he swallowed hard, trying to quell the rising tide of doubt. But beneath the anxiety surged a defiant pulse, a desire to see the truth defended, to share the unjust burden that weighed upon so many. The recollections of Rachel's words echoed fiercely in his mind. "Your voice matters." Alex pulled out his phone. His fingers hovered briefly above the screen. Should he text her? Would sharing this moment validate his choice or merely fan the flames of his uncertainty? With a deep breath, he composed a message. "I've sent the documents. I need to talk." As the message successfully sent, he felt an unexpected release. The acknowledgement that he wasn't alone in this conflict, that Rachel understood, provided an anchor to his spiraling thoughts. Yet, as he continued his walk, he envisioned the reactions that might unfold. The firm would brace for a response, and loyalists would rally behind them just as interest would rise around him. A moat amidst the chaos. Arriving at a quiet cafe that served as an informal hub for local journalists, Alex took a seat by the window where he could observe the cerulean twilight. He scanned the faces among the patrons, each absorbed in their conversations, conducting their lives within the limits of ignorance to the storm that was brewing around him. His heart raced with anticipation and anxiety, wondering which one of them might help turn his plight into a movement. He crafted a plan. Notes strewn across his napkin, the key figures he needed to reach out to, evidence he could collate, public forums he might leverage. Whistleblower protections, media ethics, the powerful potential of a well-placed article. These were the weapons of choice he would wield against the fury of corporate complacency. As he sipped his coffee, bitter, yet oddly reassuring, an old high school acquaintance, Sarah, walked in and caught his eye. She had moved to the city as an investigative journalist, her fierce ambition matched by her unyielding resolve. Their paths had diverged significantly over the years, yet Alex felt a pull. She was someone with the momentum he needed. "Alex, long time no see," she greeted him, her enthusiasm momentarily cutting through his focus. The instinct to share his burden propelled him to be transparent. "Got a moment? There's something important I need to discuss." As they slid into a booth, the dynamic shifted. Her laughter faded, and in its place grew concerned curiosity. With each word he spoke, he feared the gravity of his intentions might overwhelm her. He recounted the details, unspooling his narrative with trembling honesty, picturing potential skepticism on her face. But instead of recoiling, her eyes sparkled with intrigue, the journalist within her awakening. "This is huge, Alex. You have to document everything. This is your chance to turn the tide." Her affirmation invigorated him, but with hope also came an aching awareness of potential backlash. For days he would be dissecting their conversation, the possibilities and personal stakes intertwined. "But what if it goes wrong?" he challenged, a tremor punctuating his voice. It was the unmentioned fear of retaliation, of becoming a target not only at the firm but perhaps beyond, affecting his family as well. "Alex, anything worth fighting for comes with risk," she countered, an unwavering conviction glinting in her eyes. "But your voice could change lives. People are counting on you." The enormity of those words lit a fire in him. He had the choice to surrender to fear or harness that fear to forge a path forward. While the specter of reprisals shadowed him, the adrenaline ignited momentum he hadn't expected to feel only hours earlier. Sarah's passion fueled his determination, and as he delved deeper into contingencies and contacts, another realization took root. He had to reach out to Rachel for further guidance. This journey wasn't just about him, it was about cultivating a network of support, building pillars around his convictions. And as the night deepened and the cafe thinned out, Alex grappled with one stark idea. Was he ready to truly embrace this uncomfortable evolution within himself? The moment of reckoning was approaching, and the stakes had never felt higher. But would he be brave enough to confront those who sought to silence him? Or would he cower beneath the weight of their influence? His heart raced as he prepared to take another monumental step. It was time to put his plans into action. With the cafe's ambient chatter fading into a low hum, Alex was left alone with the reverberations of his decision. He pictured Rachel sitting across from him, the weight of their conversations anchoring him. What if appending the firm would come at a personal cost he could never calculate? Yet, he could no longer ignore the urgency gnawing at him. It was time to act. Determined to assemble his thoughts, he opened his laptop, its blue screen illuminating his face. Fingers poised above the keyboard, he envisioned each meticulously crafted sentence as a potential artillery round aimed at the injustice they all faced. He had to frame the narrative not as an attack on the firm, but as a fight for the truth, for those unjustly affected by the organization's unscrupulous actions. In a flurry of energy, he began outlining the key players involved, tailoring his approach based on their potential vulnerabilities. His meticulous notes took shape, a T-chart detailing the firm's misdeeds and the stakeholders affected. Each name he wrote down felt like a lifeline, a beacon of hope that there were others waiting for someone to give voice to the voiceless. Yet fear still crept into his mind like a predator lurking in the shadows. The very idea of retaliation from the firm sent a wave of ice coursing through his veins. He recalled stories of whistleblowers whose lives were derailed, careers shattered, families torn apart. Could he truly endure that? Clenching his hands into fists, he fought against the inevitability of doubt. "What are you willing to lose?" he asked himself, glaring into the vacant screen. Just then, a notification blipped on his phone. It was a text from Rachel. "Let us meet. Need your input on something critical." He instantly felt the shift. Rachel was a force of clarity in his spiraling thoughts. He texted her back, suggesting a time and place, before rising abruptly and leaving the cafe. The cool evening air whipped at his face, stimulating him to action. Each step felt like a blow of encouragement against the hesitation that had wrapped itself around him. As he rounded a corner, his chest tightened at the thought of what awaited him. He needed to grasp every opportunity, not merely to find allies, but to cement his resolve internally. Today was not merely about informing Rachel. It was about verbalizing his own convictions, standing firmly on the precipice of his transformation. Arriving at the agreed location, a small park bench surrounded by the flickering city lights felt oddly comforting. He sat, noticing how the tranquil scene contradicted the turmoil roiling inside him. He watched as strangers passed, enveloped in their own lives. They were unaware of the insurgent thoughts igniting within him, unseeable forces shaping his narrative. Moments later, Rachel strode towards him, her expression serious but reassured. As she sat down, a flood of warmth surged through him. "Thanks for coming," he started, but found himself faltering, words stuck in his throat. Despite her calm demeanor, he sensed the gravity of their conversation. "I've been thinking a lot about our conversation," he finally said, each word dripping off his tongue like heavy lead. "I want to make this happen." Rachel leaned forward, her attention unwavering. "Good. This isn't just your story. It's about giving people their power back," she said, with conviction that ignited a flicker of courage within him. Her belief in the cause seemed to resonate with newfound strength in his resolve. "Let us prepare a detailed outline together. I'll gather testimonies, we can hit the ground running," she continued, excitement sparking in her tone. The logistics started to unfold in his mind, each suggestion sparking a clarity he hadn't found before. But even as hope began to flood his being, the darker realizations loomed. What repercussions would follow? Before he could dismiss the thought, he asked, "What happens if they come after us?" Rachel met his gaze, unwavering confidence eluding any hint of fear. "Then we stand together. There's strength in numbers. This isn't just your fight, Alex. We're in this together." In that moment, the weight of impending action overshadowed the doubts. This was about something larger than himself. Alex's heart thudded against his ribcage, each beat echoing the uncharted path ahead. Just as they concluded their planning, a figure appeared in the distance, obscured in the shadows. Alex squinted, recognizing a familiar silhouette, one he hoped to avoid. His pulse quickened. The blend of hope and dread surged as he prepared for an unexpected confrontation. "Alex!" the figure called, voice dripping with authority, cutting through the tension like a knife. "We need to talk. Now." The stakes had escalated dramatically, and Alex felt the walls closing in around him. Would he stay true to his newfound convictions, or would he falter under pressure? The figure approached with a commanding presence, a force Alex couldn't ignore. It was Mr. Donovan, the lead partner at the firm, and he carried an air of authority that could shift tides on a whim. Alex instinctively felt the weight of the moment. This was not just a conversation, it was a reckoning. "Alex," Mr. Donovan's voice was smooth, but laced with an undercurrent of tension that made Alex's skin prickle. "I've heard some troubling things. Let's not make this difficult." In the flickering streetlight, Alex could see the subtle shift in Mr. Donovan's demeanor, a predator sizing up its next move. As doubt clawed at his resolve, he fought to keep his voice steady. "I'm not sure what you mean," he said, his heart hammering as he glanced at Rachel, who sat silently, her gaze locked on Donovan. "Come now, don't play coy. I know you've been having discussions that aren't just casual chats over coffee." Donovan's eyes narrowed slightly. The implication hung heavy in the air, like a storm ready to break. "You went to the press, didn't you?" "No," Alex replied, words rushing out with a mix of defiance and fear. "This is about the truth." "Ah, the truth," Donovan echoed, tilting his head mockingly. "And do you believe that truth will keep you safe? You're a smart kid, Alex. You know how these things work." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. This was a calculated intimidation tactic, but he had come too far to retreat. He resumed a steadier posture, channeling the spirit Rachel had instilled in him. "I know exactly what I'm doing. We're not afraid to stand together. And you can't intimidate us into silence." Mr. Donovan's expression soured, and he stepped closer, his voice low and menacing. "Be careful, Alex. You could find yourself in a world of hurt if you keep pushing. This isn't some trivial game. You're endangering your career and potentially your future." Fear bubbled beneath his skin, but anger swiftly took its place. Is that a threat? Donovan chuckled darkly. Call it what you will. I'm merely advising you to reconsider your path. He glanced at Rachel before shifting his focus back to Alex, his eyes piercing. You've got potential, but don't let it lead you into deep water where you might not come back. As Donovan stepped back, leaving a chilling silence in his wake, Alex's mind raced. This confrontation hadn't quelled his resolve. Rather, it steeled it further. He glanced at Rachel, who seemed unfazed by the verbal duel. In her he found strength amidst uncertainty. Let him think he can scare us, she whispered, a flicker of rebellion igniting in her tones. We know the risk, but they'll be forced to listen if we push hard enough. For a brief moment, the world around Alex fell away, leaving only their shared determination standing strong between them. He felt as if he teetered on the edge of an abyss. Would they dive deep enough to confront the truth? Or would they retreat into the shadows Donovan was threatening? The confrontation only served to clarify his thoughts. He couldn't afford to look back, not now. The stakes had never been bigger. Yet something inside him sparked with an unfamiliar thrill. It was time to gather his allies, document the truth, and prepare for the battle looming on the horizon. As they left the park, Alex felt renewed purpose push him forward. Each step echoed with the acknowledgments of not just an internal transformation, but also an external one. A reckoning with the firm that had shaped his world. Later, as he sat in his dim apartment, laptop open, a wave of emotions surged. He understood what he had to do now. The stakes had risen, and the risk of inaction was heavier than the consequences of engagement. The last-minute notification from Rachel blipped on his phone again. Meeting tomorrow with the journalist. Bring everything you have. Tomorrow. One single meeting could change everything. But as he mulled over his next steps, doubt settled in anew. Would this contact expose them to further danger? The realization hit him. The only way to safeguard their future was to remain proactive. This was deeper than mere journalism. It was about bringing the truth to light and rallying together for what was right. But with every revelation came questions. Who could be trusted? In the ruthless world of corporate politics, alliances are often as fragile as paper. Alex closed his eyes, drawing in a breath, ready to confront whatever consequence rippled from his choices. With dawn imminent, he prepared himself for the next chapter, a battle not only for justice but for his own identity and existence. Could he navigate the force of that storm, or was he still just a pawn waiting to be knocked off the board? The morning sun crept through the dingy blinds of Alex's apartment, casting a slanting glow across the scattered papers on his desk. Each document held the weight of revelations and potential consequences, remnants of his battle against a corporate monster. With a deep breath he steeled himself, knowing that today was pivotal not just for his career, but for the truth he was prepared to defend. Every minute leading to the meeting felt like an eternity. Glancing at his reflection in the laptop screen, he witnessed the tension carved into his brow, the resolve flickering in his eyes. He recalled Mr. Donovan's warnings. They echoed ominously in his ears. Fear and anger battled within him, but anger was becoming the clearer lens through which he saw the world. It fueled his determination to take on an entrenched system resistant to change. He sifted through the materials he had gathered: emails, meeting notes, and testimonies. Each piece was a brick, building his case against the firm's unethical practices. He felt a surge of adrenaline as he noted down connections he hadn't seen before. These weren't just isolated incidents, they formed a narrative of neglect and greed. With each tick of the clock his focus tightened. The journalist was supposed to be impartial, but Alex had suspicions. What if this was merely another facade in a world filled with illusions? Could he trust anyone in this grand performance of corporate manipulation? Trust was a commodity he could no longer afford to give lightly. Finally, as the time crept closer, he strapped on a brisk determination. He envisioned the conversation, the way he would present himself: confident, assertive, and in command of the facts. No longer just the eager intern. He would be the architect of change. The realization surged within him. This awakening carried an exhilarating weight. His identity no longer hinged solely on corporate validation. It was birthed from a struggle for justice. Alex stepped outside, the cool air invigorating, fueling his resolve further. He arrived at the cafe early, his heart racing. As he settled into a corner table, the environment buzzed with hurried conversations, the clatter of cups blending into an indistinguishable rhythm. He embraced it. This noise was a symphony for the battle that lay ahead. Minutes later, the journalist appeared, a confident woman in her mid-30s, keen eyes scanning the room. As she approached, Alex noted her direct demeanor. He quickly stood up, greeting her with a firm handshake. She introduced herself as Jenna, an investigative reporter renowned for tackling corporate malfeasance. "Let us dive right in," she said, her eagerness palpable. "I've heard a lot about the story you have. What's the bottom line?" With that prompt, Alex began unraveling the truth. He detailed each piece of evidence, articulating the implications clearly and passionately. He felt the weight of Jenna's scrutiny but pushed forward, aware that this was not just a presentation of facts. It was an invocation of his convictions. He depicted the entire picture: the cover-ups, the implications, the human cost tangled within the corporate maneuvers. Jenna listened intently, her notes flying across the page. "This is significant, Alex," she remarked as he concluded, pausing for effect. "But right now the stakes are dangerously high. Are you prepared for the repercussions? The industry isn't forgiving." His gut tightened as the gravity of her words sunk in. He had to weigh the threat against his desire for transparency and justice. "I'm not afraid of their tactics," he replied, his voice firmer than he felt. "I'm prepared to face whatever comes next. The truth deserves a voice." Jenna nodded, a flicker of respect crossing her features. "That's the spirit I like to see, but understand this is just the beginning. You'll need allies, data, support, and a solid plan. This could become a much larger battle." As they outlined the next steps, Alex felt a swell of determination. With Jenna on board, he was no longer alone. They mapped out a timeline for the story's release, and the support he would need to weather the storm ahead. Yet, as they discussed strategy, lurking doubts nagged at the back of his mind. Would others stand up in solidarity, or would they fold under fear's weight? The conversation shifted to the efficiency of spreading their findings, and suddenly, Jenna's words hung in the air like a challenge. "You do realize, Alex, that revealing this kind of information means more than just cleaning house at your firm. It's a revolution." The prospect made Alex's heart race, a dual surge of excitement and anxiety. This could indeed be the catalyst for change not only within his world but beyond. But pieces of worry taunted his resolve. Would he remain a pawn, or would he master the game? As they parted ways with a handshake that felt like an agreement sealed in fire, Alex knew the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty. Yet, the embers of potential glowed fiercely within him. Tomorrow they would begin crafting the narrative to spark a revolution. But who would stand beside him? And who would turn against him? With each passing moment, the stakes climbed, and so did the anticipation of confrontation, a battle that could reshape everything. What he hadn't realized was that the first challenge would arrive much sooner than expected. The next morning arrived with an unsettling silence that clung to Alex like a shroud. The anticipation he had felt the previous night gave way to an unexpected dread. He sat at his desk, attempting to corral his thoughts into some semblance of order, yet the shadows of uncertainty lingered. The clock ticked with an almost mocking rhythm, each second amplifying the underlying tension of the battle ahead. Despite his earlier conviction, he questioned his commitment. What if the repercussions were more severe than mere discomfort? The voices of doubt nagged at him like persistent gnats. Alex pushed away from the desk, the scattered papers shifting as he rose, a new determination rising with him. He needed clarity. As he walked to the small courtyard outside his building, fresh air filled his lungs. The crispness of the morning felt invigorating. It heightened his senses and allowed him to think. The faint laughter of children nearby reminded him of innocence, something he felt he had lost in this corporate labyrinth. "Change is never easy," he muttered under his breath, repeating the mantra he had begun to adopt. Standing here, with the rising sun warming his skin, he felt a slight reawakening of his purpose. He had to focus on the fight for those who were powerless, handing them a voice in a hallway of silence. Each step he had taken along this path had shifted him. He was no longer just the intern. A warrior was emerging from within. His phone buzzed, jolting him from his contemplative state. It was Jenna. We need to discuss the timeline for the exposé, her text read, and he felt his stomach tighten. This was it. The moment of truth was fast approaching. Meeting Jenna at the designated cafe, he arrived early, using the time to strategize. Their conversation from the day before replayed in his mind, the stakes had never felt higher. As he reviewed the evidence again, he felt the excitement building within him, intertwining with a fear that sent jittery adrenaline coursing through his veins. "I'm ready to dive deep, no stopping now," he said to himself, reinforcing his resolute mindset. When Jenna arrived, her demeanor was focused, and her gaze held the intensity of someone on the brink of uncovering a great story. "I've been researching the key players involved. We must connect each dot meticulously to build a compelling narrative. The industry needs to see this unfold logically, compellingly," she stated, flipping open her notebook. Tentatively, Alex presented the evidence, each email meticulously drawn together, the testimonies forming a chorus of wrongdoing. Jenna absorbed the details, her pen dancing gracefully across the page. But as they worked, Alex felt more than just excitement. He sensed a lurking danger. "What if they retaliate against you? Against us?" he muttered, momentarily losing composure. "I'm worried that even simple exposure could bring down their fury upon us." Jenna met his gaze, her expression unwavering. "That's the risk we take. Truth causes waves, Alex. We can't let fear dictate our actions. It's time for you to embrace that discomfort and use it as a tool." As the hours passed, they meticulously crafted the angles of their story, preparing press releases that would radiate shockwaves through the corporate sphere. Yet, amidst the frenzy of productivity, an unsettling thought nagged at Alex. Would his colleagues support his fight? Would they choose to stand with him? Or would they cower in the shadows of self-preservation? Just then Jenna paused, a serious expression crossing her face. "You need to be prepared for retaliation. This isn't going to be a smooth ride, Alex. The moment they feel threatened, they'll do whatever it takes to protect their interests, even if it means coming after you directly." The weight of her words crashed over him. He realized that for the first time, he was stepping into the arena where real dangers lurked, a psychological battlefield rife with adversaries who would stop at nothing. Yet, there was a flicker of something deep within, a brighter flame of resolve. He could not turn back. Now, just as that resolve ignited, a text notification flashed on his phone. An anonymous message, brief and sharp. "You have no idea what you're stepping into. Consider this a warning." The color drained from his face. Questions raced through his mind, panic mingling with determination. He had expected pushback, but not such a direct threat. Just how deeply embedded were the roots of corruption? It was time for him to decide. Would he confront the dangers head-on, or would he retreat back to the safety of obscurity? The storm was already brewing, and he stood at the eye of it, the choice looming larger than ever. His next move would define not just his fight against corruption but the very essence of who he was becoming. What he hadn't yet grasped was that the choice he made would alter the course of his life irrevocably. The day unfolded with an unnerving mix of anticipation and anxiety that loomed over Alex like a heavy cloud. Every interaction felt layered with unspoken tension as he navigated the office, the collective energy of his colleagues crackling with an undercurrent of uncertainty. He approached his workstation, the usual hum of productivity replaced by an almost palpable silence. With a deep breath, he immersed himself back in the evidence. The documentation sprawled before him, once just ink on white pages, now burst with the weight of their implications. He had spent the last month piecing together the puzzle of corporate sabotage, exposing unethical dealings that had caused considerable harm. But with every detail unraveled, so too did the comfort of anonymity fade. He became acutely aware that this wasn't merely a journalistic endeavor. It was a personal crusade, an effort that could change the course of lives, possibly even his own. Suddenly, a voice jolted him from his thoughts. "Alex!" It was Mark, a seasoned journalist known for his biting critiques and unyielding integrity. Yet, in this moment, hesitation flickered in his eyes. "You're diving deep into something pretty tumultuous. Just be careful. Not everyone here has our best interests at heart." Alex felt gratitude mingle with alarm. "I appreciate the warning, Mark, but I can't back down now. I owe it to those affected," he replied, an intensity solidifying in his tone. Mark nodded, respect glimmering in his gaze. But the unease had already taken root within Alex's mind. His lunch break felt surreal as he walked the streets, each step a reminder of how the world outside continued to turn while his insides churned with apprehension. Picking at his sandwich, he monitored his phone, half expecting another cryptic message, each buzz catalyzing the fear of what might come next. "Don't you dare let them intimidate you," he whispered to himself in the reflective glass of a store window. This mantra had become necessary, evolving from vague encouragement to an armor he needed to don every waking hour. He had dismissed his doubts, but the reality of consequences loomed relentlessly over him. Once back in the office, Jenna was already seated in a corner with her laptop open, her face illuminated by the screen's glow. "I gathered some insider opinions for the story. You'll want to frame it from multiple angles," she said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Her focus was admirable, yet Alex sensed an additional edge to her anxiety, one that mirrored his own. They dove headfirst into the narrative, each revelation building momentum. But every time their hands brushed against the urgency of sharing the truth, Alex couldn't shake the fleeting thought of retribution. What would happen when their voices emerged from the shadows? The weight of progression felt grand, yet the risk of exposure was an ever-present adversary, whispering threats in the corners of his mind. Hours drifted into dusk as they worked tirelessly on the exposé. But amidst the adrenaline-fueled chaos, Alex felt another flicker of fear, the fear of his own authority. For all the evidence they meticulously gathered, Alex wondered if he had enough resolution to carry this through. "What if they destroy me?" he muttered under his breath, trying to keep the volume of his doubts at bay. Jenna glanced over, shadows painting her face, yet her voice remained steady. "Alex, fear is a weapon they wield, but we have the truth on our side. Trust your instincts. You are becoming more than just a participant in this. You are a vital force of change." In that raw moment of connection, determination surged within him, the kind that forged through chaos and propelled him forward. He was no longer just an intern. He was transforming into a watchdog of integrity, armed with courage and fueled by the pursuit of justice. Yet, just as the hope crested, another message pinged on his phone, its words sending chills down his spine. "You think this is just about you? They won't stop. You're on borrowed time." Heart racing, Alex realized that his path had taken a dark turn. The storm wasn't merely brewing, it was crashing down around him. Did he have the fortitude to stand his ground, or would he crumble under pressure? Resolute, Alex clenched his hands into fists. The time had come to confront the shadows that threatened to engulf him. Suddenly, the answer to his own question unfurled in his mind. He could not retreat now. He had to face the storm head-on. With his heart racing, he prepared himself for the next chapter of this battle, one that might finally reveal who he truly was ready to become. Choosing to walk this path would demand everything, but he finally understood the price of silence. Would he be ready for the fight? As dusk settled over the city, Alex felt the weight of his choices pressing down on him, a palpable sensation that shifted from anxiety to a steely determination. The shadows in the office flickered with the light of his computer screen, illuminating the contours of his face, as he wrestled with a decision that had the potential to alter his life forever. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, stalling as he contemplated his next move. It wasn't just about the exposé anymore, it was about standing up for what he believed in. "Let us take a step back," Jenna suggested, her voice slicing through the silence that enveloped them. "Maybe we need to reassess. We've got the data, but what if it's too dangerous to publish?" He turned to her, surprised. "You're starting to doubt?" The vulnerability in his query was unmistakable. "I'm not doubting the story," she countered, a passion igniting in her expression. "I'm questioning the risks we're facing. What happens if we push it too far? Do we really know what they're capable of?" Alex's heartbeat thundered as he considered her words. They had both been driven by a shared vision, but now, with threats spiraling from the unknown, that vision felt perilously close to slipping away. "Of course we need to be cautious," he replied, a deliberation forming in his mind. "But isn't that why we've gotten this far? To expose the truth?" He leaned in, driven by an urgency he hadn't felt before. "People need to know about this. They deserve it." Jenna's brow furrowed, uncertainty battling against the fire of their shared mission. In that moment he realized that he wasn't just persuading her. He was grappling with his own doubts, desperately seeking the right path while standing at a crossroads. With each detail they documented, the threat of exposure honed sharper. Alex knew every decision would have consequences, and the thought of what lay beyond the invisible door of truth was both exhilarating and terrifying. What did it mean to be a whistleblower in an environment that thrived on deception? He was beginning to understand that becoming a voice for the silenced also meant risking everything he had worked for. As he scrolled through their findings, a shift in perspective sparked inside him. This wasn't his simple task of reporting. It was an opportunity for profound self-reflection. The internal metamorphosis he was experiencing wasn't just about professional development. It was a confrontation with each part of himself, an exploration of his values and what he was willing to defend. I appreciate your caution, Jenna, but I think this is more than just a story for us. It's a chance to redefine ourselves, he asserted, his tone unwavering. The tension in Jenna's shoulders seemed to dissipate, reassured by Alex's newfound clarity. All right, we'll move forward. But we'll need a solid plan. We can't just throw caution to the wind. Exactly, he said, a newfound resolve blossoming within him. They set to work, plotting their course with precision, weighing each piece of evidence against the potential fallout. While the risks lurked like shadows in the corners of his mind, he found an unexpected strength in their shared commitment to expose the truth, forging a path lit by integrity. Yet amidst their intense collaboration, Alex's phone buzzed insistently, breaking the tension in the room. A message from an unknown number sent a shudder through him. You still think you're safe? Don't say I didn't warn you. The chill crept into his veins, reminiscent of the unease that had plagued him earlier. The gravity of their mission crystallized. He could no longer ignore the threat, he had to face it head-on. Would he unravel under pressure, or would he seize the moment, transformed from an eager intern into a beacon of integrity amid darkness? Pushing the phone aside, he met Jenna's gaze, understanding dawning on him that this battle wasn't merely for a story. It was a fight for his identity, a pivotal point in his journey. Let us get ready. We're going to face whatever comes our way, Alex resolved, igniting the fire of purpose within them both. But as they continued to strategize, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that shadows were closing in, and he had no idea how far the conspiracy reached. The next steps, he realized, would test not only their investigation but his very core. Would they emerge victorious, or would the dark forces they challenged extinguish their light before it even began to shine? The answer loomed just beyond the horizon, waiting to be unveiled. The sun rose on a new day, casting a determined amber light over Alex's hesitant figure as he made his way to the office. There was a palpable tension lingering in the air, but Alex felt a fierce resolve swelling within him. He straightened his back, each step a testament to his commitment, each breath laced with the urgency to confront the impending storm. No longer just an intern, he envisioned himself as a guardian of the truth. Guided by the realization that the outcome of his actions would ripple into the lives of many, Alex entered the expansive lobby of his law firm, with an unyielding confidence that had been forged in the fires of his recent trials. The burden of fear and uncertainty had transformed into anticipation, a feeling that surged through him as he approached his colleagues who until now had merely occupied space in his peripheral vision. He exchanged nods, mindful of the ones who had previously dismissed his ambition, their privileged complacency a stark contrast to the moral battle he now championed. As he reached his workstation, he encountered Mark again. The seasoned journalist eyed him with weighing interest. You still in the game? Mark asked, curiosity and concern mingling in his tone. Alex met his gaze, a steady flame of conviction igniting. More than ever. I'm ready to face whatever they throw my way. The clarity in his voice caught Mark off guard, and the slight nod of approval that followed made Alex feel validated. Once settled, Alex dove into the intricate web of evidence while the shadows loomed closer. He felt the ticking clock echo in his mind, acting as a reminder of the stakes that extended beyond his own comfort. Pulling together testimonies and documents, he began to conceptualize a stronger narrative that would expose the magnitude of the corruption at play. As the morning morphed into afternoon, Alex prepared himself for an impromptu meeting with Jenna. They would share their findings with a formidable group of influential journalists who could breathe life into their mission if they dared to lay bare the truth. With nerves coursing through him, he made his way to the rendezvous point. Arriving at a quaint cafe reserved for the incoming tide of media professionals, Alex found his footing as he envisioned the confrontation unfolding. He had prepared for possible skepticism, but his heart urged him to be unyielding. "I believe this is going to change everything," Jenna said as they joined the table, her optimism tied tightly to his own resolve, solidifying them as allies of truth. As conversation ignited, Alex spoke passionately, recounting the meticulous documentation they had gathered. "These aren't isolated incidents, this is systematic malpractice. People have suffered at the hands of negligence." Their audience leaned in, intrigued and yet apprehensive. A seasoned journalist with a skeptical brow interjected, "You realize you're stepping into dangerous waters. What's to stop powerful figures from silencing you?" Alex's heart raced. He had been anticipating questions just like this. "Because the truth has a voice," he declared, conviction radiating from him. "If we don't expose this now, more lives will remain ravaged by their greed." The room erupted in a charged silence, his words hanging in the air, hanging heavy with implication. Alex could see those wavering uncertainly transformed as they absorbed the gravity of his statements. Apprehension shifted into determination. Then came the turning point. After what felt like an eternity of consideration, the senior journalist nodded slowly. "All right, you have my interest. Let us dig deeper. But know that this could necessitate sacrifices we haven't anticipated." With their commitment secured, a rush of exhilaration surged through Alex. They departed with a newfound alliance that validated the risks he had confronted, the courage he had summoned to silence the whispers of fear that had once clouded his mind. In the days that followed, the evidence he had worked tirelessly to compile began to garner media attention. Every publication unveiled another layer of truth, igniting a societal firestorm that could not be silenced. As national conversations fluttered around them, Alex began to feel the recognition he had long sought transform into something tangible. The wind was at his back, propelling him forward. Through the tumultuous storm of backlash and threats, Alex found himself gaining allies among former colleagues. Mark and other allies began to rally behind him, recognizing that true change stemmed from solidarity, not individual struggle. As they fortified their positions, he learned the true meaning of resilience, acceptance of external validation, while still holding steadfast to his principles. Confronted one last time by Mr. Donovan, the lead partner who had initially threatened him, Alex stood resolute. "You underestimated me. The truth cannot be contained by fear," he declared, newfound confidence radiating from him. And as responses mounted regarding the exposure of the corrupt practices, Alex felt a profound sense of achievement stirring within him. His journey, a tale woven with fear, courage and ultimately triumph, had brought him here. A once timid intern now transformed into a respected advocate for justice. With the echoes of their collective fight for transparency rippling across news headlines, Alex Carter had finally forged his identity, one characterized by integrity and resilience, forever marked by the decision to confront injustice head-on. In this moment, standing on the precipice of his professional future, he understood that he had not only conquered the systemic malignancy of corporate greed, but had also unveiled his own fierce spirit. He had truly arrived. Now, if you believe in the power of transformation and the importance of truth, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for deeper, exclusive emotional stories that inspire real change. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm and spread awareness. Comment your thoughts. What did you think about Alex's remarkable journey and the lessons learned? Plus, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to be part of this transformative narrative.